Was so proudly we had the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes had bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the monsters gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sailors that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Alrighty, we are live. Good evening, fellow MVs. They're starting to chime in here, so we'll let them keep coming in here. Dusty, welcome back.
Glad to be back, Clayton.
Yeah, you've been down to Texas and back and around and to the Capitol, and you've had a busy week since we talked to you.
It's been a busy few months, really, between work and legislation and family stuff. But hey, that's just part of life.
Oh yeah. Tell you what, we're going to get this rocking and rolling like we do every single show with the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's like our good friend Governor Armstrong. He always says, "Them commas are important in those 27 words," and we did a whole thing on that. So later on, guys, I got a number hooked up. I think we're going to be able to use this, and I'm going to put it up here right now. And don't call yet because we're going to talk a little bit first. But if it works, we might be able to take some calls like we've been promising for 2 years, and maybe, just maybe, right there it is. Jot it down. Do not call yet. I'll let everybody know when you can do that, because if we can take calls, I think this will be a very interesting show with everything that happened. I'm guessing you kind of believe the same thing tonight. Hope we still got Dusty.
Yep.
And I think we're working. I think things are working a little bit better for us. So as well, a couple announcements tomorrow. I will not be on KFYR 550 Mitchell in the Morning with Todd, but Jamie is going to be filling in. So thanks to Jamie. By the way, Jamie, happy anniversary. Him and Kim. I don't know if it's 16 or 17 years, but he's got a ways to catch me and my wife. But that's okay. Congratulate him. I got to make a run to Rapid City really early in the morning. And, of course, Dakota Mornings, go check that out. Everything's up on the podcast. Hit iHeart. You can check all the social media platforms, you name it. And Jamie's got that up there. It was a really good show, interesting show. And, of course, we got a lot of things coming up tonight on the show. By the way, on the 16th of April, we will switch back to our regular day, Wednesday. Lent will be over, and we'll get back to our normal schedule. So keep that in mind. April 16th, switching back to Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain, 8 o'clock p.m. Central. With that, Dusty Backer, he is with us tonight again. There was some movement on a bill. It's 2137, and it's not named right. They call it the baiting bill. Let's face it, it's a hunting bill. It's a pro-hunting bill and a property rights bill. And it has to do with supplemental feeding, which is legal, everybody, year-round. Unless you want to hunt big game over it. Let's keep that in mind. And there was some huge movements on it, some ups and downs. I know I talked a little bit here just briefly, but Dusty, welcome back, and I'm going to let you get right into it.
Yeah, so 2137 we've been waiting on. The verbal testimony is March 7th, and we hit on some of that last week. Mm-hmm. And today it was finally brought forth in the committee. And they originally brought up the amendments at the beginning. And the amendments, you talk like it's a a clean, simple bill, hunting restriction bill, to get our rights back on private property. And the amendments are just taking our rights on private property, make absolutely no sense to the bill. And there was actually a few additional ones, but the ones that have always been were proposed a couple weeks ago was a 250-foot limit from a fence. You couldn't put feed pile to hunt over, which is not about feed. We can already place it anywhere along the fence, but that was proposed. Right. But they dropped that to 50 feet. And then a 50-gallon limit was still proposed. And then they put two terrible ones on there, 3 and 4. And I don't know if you can pull the amendments up or not, Clayton, but I can read them too if you can't, because these are two.
Here. Let me see if they're up. They were not up here a little bit ago, but let me go see if they've got them up there now.
That have absolutely nothing to do with this bill. Yeah. The third one is the department shall conduct CWD surveillance and testing. What does that have to do with the hunting restriction bill, number 1?
Nothing.
I mean, number 4 is the department shall provide a report to the legislative management before December 31st, 2028 regarding an update on the surveillance and testing protocols and procedures of CWD in the state. And we got to hit on these because these are detrimental, Clayton, because the Game and Fish can already test. They're already doing surveillance and monitoring, and now they're scheming something behind the scenes with these amendments and putting them in our bill. It's got nothing to do with our bill.
Right.
Make it law for 4 years where they have to test, and basically it's a gag order on the people of North Dakota, Clayton. That's why I'm so disturbed on these amendments, because we can't bring forth 4 bills the next 4 years, and Game and Fish are forced to test because they have to give this report in 4 years.
Well, and if you look at the original bill that you guys got pushed out of the Senate, which was a good, clean bill, the only thing that changed on it was the expiration date, and that was Section 2, line 10. This act is effective through July 31st, 2029, and after that date is ineffective. So, that was your guys', as far as I'm kind of, compromise to get it out there, do what we can see, till the next session, essentially. 2 sessions, right? 2 sessions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was workable because you'll have a lot of data by then, and we'll see exactly who's right. I already know who's right, but you know how this goes in the public opinion. But yeah, when I'm looking at these other amendments now, I mean, I know why they came out with the 250 foot. This is how legislators and politicians who don't give a damn about the people they represent or the people that come to these meetings, they put out 250 thinking, okay, we know we're not going to get that. There's going to be an uproar. I mean, I played this game a long time with gun laws when we're trying to push something through. So what they did was then they reduced that to 50 because they think it's a game. They think it's a game of chess, and they're going to, okay, well, we'll knock 200 foot off, then they'll be happy. No. Property rights, just like gun rights, as far as I'm concerned, they're not up for compromise. They're not up for discussion. And that's what these people don't get. So I get why they did that, because I figured they're going to leave it in there, right? You've really got me interested in this since we last talked. So I've been going through it a little bit.
That's great.
50 gallons. Really? Why not 10? I'm looking right here at a bill that come out of Washington State, which I don't know if you read that. I know I sent you a link, but it was kind of, in the last 2-minute warning.
Yep.
But I mean, when you look at this, that was 8 months after a detection, tested positive. But by the way, I found out that deer out there again didn't die of CWD. A hunter shot it and turned it in. But one of theirs, I think, is, I gotta remember, I know I read it in here. I want to say theirs is 10 gallons. So they're all over the place.
I think you're right. And that's the thing, though. The agencies have been wanting to ban feeding for, forever. I mean, they've turned the conservation model was about feeding 20, 30 years ago to say, that's what brought all these animals back in the harsh winters. And now they're slowly, we call it the nudge effect. They're slowly getting away from the original conservation model and saying how it's detrimental to our herd.
And it's not.
And it's not.
Today when I was out there, I was checking cows. We're calving now. And I mean, I'm watching the deer roll through. And my whitetails died of EHD around here. I mean, there's still some here, but they've been devastated. They really have. This year wasn't as bad, but 3 years ago they knocked out all my great whitetails.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing 150 to 170 class bucks all the time on this place. and they're not there right now. We got the genetics still if they can make it, but now the mule deer have moved in. So I'm watching these deer come through. I did a little grinding, and I here the other day, and I see they hit the little ground feed pile. So now, if I would have decided that, let's say it's during deer season, and that same little pile's out there, it's on my private property, it's in my boundaries, obviously, and I want to harvest a doe, I'm illegal. Why is that? They're not dying, obviously. I got more mule deer around here than I've ever had. So you can't convince me that CWD and 3F2, which is where I live in Sioux County, is spreading rampantly because I don't find dead deer. I find whitetails that are obviously died from EHD, but I don't find the CWD. And the one that I thought might have didn't test positive. So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me, but follow the money. If you look at the dates when this stuff started really ramping up, it's when they started federally funding it. And if you remember the Great American Outdoors Act, when it went through, and now unfortunately that went through under Trump, he was all for it too. There were a lot of different things in it. It funded a ton of CWD programs, and guess what? Now we have them, and they're finding ways to invent them. I mean, the government, that's how they always work, don't they?
That's exactly how they work. Yet all the money they've had, the billions of dollars the last 60 years, and they still can't even prove it's contagious or a prion even exists. So what have they been testing the last 30, 40 years? And now in our bill, they're trying to save the game and fish because we have crushed them when it comes to the CWD narrative. But now these amendments 3 and 4, literally, they're forcing the game and fish to test now so they can, who knows what they come up with. They want to make this law.
Yes,
they want to make people, once the federal money ends, because originally the North Dakota Game and Fish had 5 CWD meetings across the state. And I think we talked about that last week.
Yep,
that was in 2022. While their surveillance and management CWD plan, and they put out the pamphlet and everything, was from 23 to 27. Well, this takes them right up to 2029. So it extends their testing and forces them to test to find more detection so they can have more data when this bill is up in 4 years.
Yeah, and that's what
people are going to, and the people are going to pay for it because the federal funds are going to end.
And I had this discussion after last week with a couple people, actually up there at our shoot, and they go, "What do we do? What do we do?" And I said, if I was you, even if you harvest a deer in a CWD unit, don't turn it in. To hell with them. And I could never understand why they're so interested in science. I don't know one single scientific test that allows you to take contaminated heads, potential contaminated heads, throw them in a bin for I don't know how many days they sit in there, and let them mix, and then expect a good result. That is the worst way to run anything, plain and simple. I've done a lot of this kind of stuff in the past, my past life, you'd say. That ain't how you conduct scientific experiments. And what was the control? There ain't one.
Right.
There's always a control, and there isn't one because they, like you've said so many times, they cannot identify the prion, I believe they call it, right?
Prion or prion, yeah.
Prion. They can't identify that. So, I mean, in a normal scientific setting, you would take the cause of that disease that they supposedly have identified, and you potentially infect the cells of a healthy host, and then you use that as part of your control. Of course, then you expose them in other ways with a healthy subject. They're not doing any of this. They're just collecting dead heads that hunters turn in, supposedly testing them for positivity. Gee, where'd we hear that? 2020. Right. And then all of a sudden saying we have this rampant epidemic. I don't believe it. To me, it's all it's bullshit.
It's a total scam, Clayton. You're right. And because we've done even more open records requests, and we just went through some information. So we have all the results from the seven clinical deer in the state of North Dakota. Because my question to the Game and Fish was, has a deer ever died in North Dakota that's actually had a TSE, a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy, because that's what they claim CWD is. So like a spongy brain, holes in the myelin sheath. And there's been one in the state of North Dakota out of 50,000 deer. There's been one.
One out of 50,000. Wow.
50,000. And this is what we're worried about. This is what we're concerned about. This is not about CWD. Like you said, it's about the money. It's not about I mean, it's not about CWD whatsoever. They just keep pushing the narrative. And now in legislation with our bill, they're trying to hijack that too and get personal agendas on the bill. And now they just want to just slap us in the face with 3 and 4 and give the game and fish even more control and more power and push the CWD agenda even longer. And the people got to pay. We got to pay for it too.
Yeah, when I saw these on here, 3 and 4, I was like, really? Wow. And I imagine this is being pushed by Porter through Game. I'm guessing Game and Fish is pressuring him. He's always been the guy that's our opponent on anything. You and I haven't worked together legislatively, but when we come up against private property rights or anything hunting related, Porter is always taking marching orders from Jeb and the crew at Game and Fish. And I imagine it's no different here.
Well, go back to the money bill, with all the license fees.
Oh, yeah, that passed today, right?
Yeah, Porter was supported that too, a sponsor of that.
Yeah, I was listening to the report on the fees because it hit the news circuit today, and are you kidding me? So when I asked some of my people in my district, the justification for it, I said, well, what's the justification for it? Well, they said because it's more in line with the surrounding states. I don't give one crap about the surrounding states. That is not a reason. When you look at the Game and Fish budget, it's in the black, everybody. They got more money than probably any agency out there for what I would call expendable income. They're planning to raise, what is it, $7 million off of these license increase fees on your right to hunt and fish, because that's what it is. You have a right. They're the biggest fee hunting operation in the state. Every agency is. They're the biggest fee operation in their state. Now they're going to up them tags on you, and they don't have a good justification for it. And then they kind of consider the next biennium that they might see that push between 9 and 10 million. Really? I don't know about you, but I keep a few things licensed that I might not even take out because it was so cheap.
Yep.
Well, I'm not going to license them now unless I actually take them out.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are going to do that. South Dakota did this with their licensing. They upped it, and they had all these things they were going to figure out what they were going to make on their vehicle license. Well, they more than doubled them and then went with a $5 wheel tax. That next year they lost, but took in less income because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not driving that vehicle maybe once. I'm just not going to license it. And they didn't. Same thing's going to happen here, especially with boats and jet skis and everything else. As far as the licensing for hunting, I still can't see why they needed all this extra money when you comb through their budget. I'd like someone to justify that. I don't know if you've looked into that, but to me, they didn't need an increase.
I think their federal funds are running dry, Clayton.
Are they? All right. Yeah.
Running dry. Yep. And that's the thing too. We've been all about helping the people of North Dakota, fighting for their rights, not just with this bill 2137, but our CWD. We call it the CWD money bill, where the Game and Fish couldn't use our local hunting and fishing fees,
right,
license fees. They could still go after federal, which was fine, but they couldn't use our local fees. And the same committee killed that bill as well. And we even just wanted a checkbox. Like, we'd have been fine with a checkbox, on the website, because then at least it gives the people the choice.
Right.
But no, when it comes to taking money away from the agencies through legislation, forget it. But if you get on Game and Fish website and see the bills and go through them and see if the Game and Fish supports them, or if Game and Fish is neutral, or if a legislator supports them, bam, they're through. Like, our bill with the people, it's like, and the people, they got tired of the phone calls, Clayton, and the emails. There's conversations that they were tired of us hammering them, and it didn't even matter. Nothing changed. In fact, they made it worse. They're trying to punch it in the face, the last two.
Well, I know in District 31, I know both of my reps and our worthless senator as well. But anyway, I know both, and I got to say, Scheibele in the Senate was with us because he is a private property rights guy generally, so that's good. We differ on a lot of other things. But on this thing, I've been in touch with the reps. And I told them kind of what we're talking about. I said, if the amendments can't be stripped out of here, the bill needs to probably be killed. And so they're aware of that because they were willing to vote basically however I told them, which I appreciate that they had that much trust in me. But I told them after visiting with you, and I agree after reading the amendments, that can't go. That's bad. That's not a win at all.
Right. We got the people just need to email. It's not on the calendar for tomorrow to be on the floor. So it's going to be on the 6th order with the amendments, and just hammer the entire House and say, please vote no on the amendments and yes on the bill.
There you go. You just heard it here, everybody. You want to vote no, tell your reps. No on the amendments, yes on the bill if,
Yep, on the bill.
if the amendments are stripped. And I'll actually, when I get done here, I'll probably contact Holly, and Dawson Holly's one of my reps, and let him know that I want to see him get on the floor and speak to remove these amendments. Honestly.
And reach out to your reps too, and get as many as you can to talk on the floor.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just a one-liner, like these amendments make absolutely no sense to this hunting restriction bill that we can already place
Right.
feed everywhere. So,
well, I'm gonna here's a comment just to that. Trent Schatz. None of the amendments have anything to do with CWD. How does a deer know where the property line is? Or if there's 50 gallons or more out, the amendments are ridiculous, but the only reason we have a hunting restriction is because CWD is ridiculous. And he's right.
that brings up a good point, because a couple of years ago, I think we hit on last week too, 1151, that was known as the infamous baiting bill. The Game and Fish, actually, the same agenda-driven amendments, other than the Game and Fish ones, the limit and the setback was on there, 1151, and like our Game and Fish actually testified how the limit and the setback had nothing to do with CWD, and the game wardens are saying we got no control and can't regulate that anyway, so they don't even want it.
Yeah, and they can't. What are they going to do? Go out to everybody's property line and trespass across the posted land to see if they got 50 feet? And by the way, most property lines are not the fence lines. I don't know if anybody knows that. There's a few out there, but unless you had it surveyed recently, it's probably not on the property line. So now, do we have to get a surveyor out there every time they want to write a ticket?
Right. There's a lot of gray areas with those amendments. I mean, now, so half the state's not restricted. Now half the state's restricted on private property. I mean, it's just.
Right. And this is where they go so wrong. They really
Right.
do. I'm going to put this map up here that you sent me. So right there's your restricted areas, right? And there's
Yep.
your non-restricted areas. Now, that's just dumb anyway.
Right.
I mean, the one along the river there, 383, I mean, at least you got a river boundary. That might help. But when you look at where 3F2 is, or 3D2, any of these, 3C, they're all up against then 21, 2H, 3B. They're right there. You telling me that some of these deer don't cross that boundary line on the other people's private property? I mean, why the arbitrary boundaries? I remember when Jeb was on, I think that's when he was still coming on with Daryl, and that was us 2 years ago or better. And Jeb's answer was, well, we gotta start somewhere. And Daryl, I know it was Daryl, and he pressed me, no, you don't. He says, unless you're having a problem, but he was kind of pushing this whole narrative. You got all these collections. You have all these deer you've tested, and at that time, I think there was one. So he says, there's obviously not a problem. And I think that's when Jeb quit coming on there.
Probably. But I mean, how are the people in the public supposed to take the Game and Fish seriously when it comes to CWD or these hunting restrictions? Because you saw that map, those red circles.
Yeah.
Some of those were supposed to be restricted last year. Some were supposed to be
And they're
restricted
not.
2 years ago. Exactly. And they haven't been. They went against their own proclamation.
Yeah.
Like they even
Right there.
changed. Yeah, there's it is. And like 2K1 and 3B2 were supposed to be banned 2 years ago.
And they're not.
And they're not. 2E, 2D, and 2C were supposed to be banned. Now, keep in mind, these are going to be restricted this year. So for those people in those
that's why they
units,
need those. That's why they need those license increases so they can offset the maybe.
exactly. Yeah, but the
It's all
hypocrisy-
about money. It's
exactly.
all about money. Tell you what, we need to take our first break. That first half hour just kind of flew by here pretty fast. We're going to take our first break here. We'll come back. I'm sure this is going to be a good long conversation this evening. And like I said, guys, I'm going to try this phone call thing. I've never done it before. We'll see if we get it to work here, but we'll see you right here after the break, and we'll get right back into it.
Let me see your war face. Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. You don't scare me.
Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at
701-258-6308. The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake. Lauer Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308. 701-258-6308. Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Experience the exhilaration of power in your hands at Bloodline Kinetics. Why Cerakote? Simply, it aids in firearm preservation while also giving your piece a unique look. Barrel threading, NFA laser engraving, bolt handle threading, mount, level, and bore, sight scope chamber rebarreling, and much more. Bloodline Kinetics is meant to reflect a long American lineage in gun ownership, who stand for the Second Amendment rights, Bloodline, and the science behind gun accuracy. Kinetics. To some, it's just a constitutional right that can go away. To us, it's in our American bloodline, and we believe it should stay that way. Here at Bloodline Kinetics, we understand that hunters, sportsmen, women, and gun owners should have a quality firearm. Stop and see us at 2008 Morrison Avenue 2 in Bismarck, North Dakota, 58504, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 701-390-7997. Visit our website.
All right, we are back, guys. I have to run a different commercial because we don't have that triple one we used to have, and I haven't had time to mess with it. So I've been as busy as Dusty's been. So. All right, I'm gonna get to a few of these comments that I've seen. Hey, Trampus, good to have you on. By the way, Trampus was our big winner of our Freedom Delivery System, Freedom Seed Delivery Systems, we call them. Otherwise, we get axed on the other channels that don't like freedom, kind of like the Game and Fish. Anyway, happy anniversary, Lynette says to JD and Kim. Travis says in 2 years, a bill must be brought forth to make the director of the North Dakota Game and Fish an elected position. I don't disagree with that. I know it was attempted one time. I think it went down in flames. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I think a couple of years ago there was one in there in the 2023 session, but it wasn't for an elected position. It was a study for an elected position, but it didn't have much. It didn't have much support or people behind it, so I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, there needs to be accountability somewhere in elected position. I mean, you can still get swamp in there too when you got elected position, but then maybe it gives the people more accountable if the elections are fair. I just have mixed feelings on it, Clayton.
You know, I think it's a good idea and concept. South Dakota to the south of us, they've got what they call a Game and Fish Commission. And you've got hunters, property owners, and there are bureaucrats on there as well. It seems like they may, honestly, at times work better. It kind of depends on who the governor is because the governor appoints those people. So that becomes an issue too. Does that mean that that's kind of an elected position? Maybe. I guess if you elect the governor, you're letting him know. Maybe, I don't know, but I like what Utah. I think it was Utah just did this. Basically, anyone that wants to be on their commission now, I believe they have to have had a hunting license for 5 years in a row, something like that. I got to look that up. But Utah just did something with theirs to try and ensure that you have landowners and hunters on that commission and not bureaucrats just chasing money. Maybe that's something to look at. I don't know.
There's got to be a better way for sure, just so there's some accountability. But I don't know necessarily the commission, if a commission is elected, maybe, but not governor appointed, because like the Texas Park Wildlife, the TPWD, they got a commission too, and that commission is so rotten, bought and paid for. You know, you donate to Abbott in Texas, $1 million or whatever, you can be on the commission, and they're terrible, putting the breeders out of business. So,
well, it's like Kelly, and then we asked Kelly this when we had him on about Jeb, and basically we were told, hey, if he doesn't like what Jeb's doing, because I think he's got issues with Jeb as well. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm going to speak for him, but I'm going to say that I think that he's got concerns, and he basically told me and Janie if there's an issue, then he's going to let him go. Well, maybe it's time to let our governor know that there's been some issues here this session. I've seen him not just on this bill, on so many other bills. I'm not a fan of Jeb. Jeb and I don't get along. We're never going to sit down and have a beer because we're not buddies, and I'm fine with that. He's an adversary to me, and when I can, I try to defeat him. I just honestly haven't had time to be in that town this year. It just wasn't in the cards for me. But who knows? My boys, one's graduating this year. The other one will be close. So maybe in 2 years, I'll have a little more time to be up there. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I was pretty active here in 19 and 21.
Okay.
And I just haven't had the time right now. But I'm not a fan of Jeb. I think Jeb needs to be replaced. Now, who do we replace him with? A lot of people said, hey, Daryl would be great. I think Daryl would make a good director. And I've actually had people tell me, why don't you be the director? And here's what I'm kind of thinking on that whole thing. I think somebody out of the system is the guy to put in there as a director. And then he can surround himself with the people he needs in there and trusts. Find the guys that really use real science. They really want to work for the people. They really want to manage the herds and they're as well as they can. To me, that's always been, we as humans don't manage anything when it comes to wildlife. The good Lord will take care of that on his own, whether we want him to or not.
Right.
And that's why I always get a care. But maybe you create conditions that are, void of influential money from different things and actually do sound management or have management practices that coincide with private property owners and conservation within the land, not the crazy stuff they come out with, but there is a good balance. We do it here. I mean, why wouldn't I want to conserve my resources as a landowner? Landowners are the best at what they do because they got to live on that land. And you don't hardly see any of that kind of cooperation right now.
No, and I can't imagine if actually the director of the Game and Fish would work with the sportsmen and the landowners of North Dakota instead of your backcountry hunters and anglers and the Wildlife Federation and these groups, the majority of its out-of-state policy being pushed in North Dakota. That's who they're dealing with all the time. I mean, the agency could be hands down one of the best agencies in the nation if they would literally work with the stewards of the land, which is the sportsmen and landowners.
Well, and I think we kind of hinged on this last week. What is it? Over 91% of all land in North Dakota, and that number, it varies, but let's just say 90% is privately owned. If you don't have the support of landowners, if you're Game and Fish, you have a problem, a big problem. You're going to have a hard time filling tags because, I see stuff like what I saw here when the antelope thing was going through, and it looks like that's going to sail through again. And they're basically going to put us in a lottery for antelope for the gratis tag. Well, I can tell you right now, I will lock this baby up again like I did on the private property rights issue in 2019. And it did forge a little change, not the one we wanted, but they found out just how powerful we are in Western North Dakota. Without our land access, they don't have a management program. They just don't.
Exactly. And sadly, the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a public land organization, brought that bill. And majority of your landowners, Clayton, probably don't even know that. But once they find out, they're probably going to lock up their land as well.
Oh, yeah.
For the public.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate to see that. And I don't advocate for that. But at the same time, I don't blame the landowners and anything either for locking it up because that's all you have left. And the people in the cities need to wake up and realize that you need to get involved with landowners and stuff and get permission.
Absolutely.
Relationships are everything.
It just, coming from South Dakota originally up to North Dakota, it just blew my mind that I have to put a sign on my land to keep people off of it. That was such a foreign idea to me. In South Dakota, you get caught on land with, it don't matter if there's a sign there or not. It's all posted, as it should be.
It's private property.
It's private property. And I was like, really? I got to put a sign up to keep people off of our land? What the hell? And like I said, that was a very foreign idea to me. Well, and if you look at that right back there, that bumper sticker, that's one of them, was the North Dakota lockout. I'm the guy that was behind that. There's no doubt about it. I make no apologies for it. And it worked to a degree. I guess it did not come out the way we were 4 votes short of what we wanted out of that in 2019. But we used that in South Dakota too, because we had the open fields doctrine down there.
Yep.
And that's when all of Western South Dakota, there was nowhere to hunt unless you knew somebody or had your own land. And that can happen again up here in North Dakota. Really easy. They really can. They gotta have landowners be part of any discussion. And we're the last people to find out. They don't even want us on these. When they do a study, they'll invite specific landowners who really, they're not with us. They're really not.
Right. They're with the game and fish.
They're with the game and fish, and they're with a predetermined outcome then in the study, which is not the way to go about that.
Yep. And that's what North Dakota actually used to be known for, right? All the open hunting, because a lot of landowners just didn't post their land.
Right.
Now, I mean, I can't tell you the couple 100,000 acres that have gone red in the last few years after our last bill failed a couple of years ago, because the landowners and sportsmen just aren't being heard. So that's all you have left is to lock up your property, which is sad. And I can relate because we just recently got land the last couple of years, coming from Nebraska and North Dakota, starting over from scratch. I build relationships with landowners. That's how I've always gotten thousands of acres to hunt, is because I go around and take the time and help out. And you can build relationships. So if people say, well, everything's locked up and red, it's hard to feel sorry for them, because you just have to make the time.
You have to do the work. I used to do that all the time, and it's not like I've always just hunted in my home state. I've hunted in Colorado and Wyoming and Montana, Minnesota. I mean, I've hunted a lot of places. But you know what? If you want to get access to private land, you have to knock on doors and introduce yourself, and don't be a jerk, and build that relationship. And yes, you may get told no once, maybe twice, but it's not because that landowner hates you. As a landowner, I'm not telling you no because I don't like you, most likely. It's either I already got people here and I know how many animals can be taken off this place and still have a good herd, or I've got plans myself. Maybe me and my sons are going out. I mean, it's a lot of different factors. Or you might have came that morning when you should have been doing the footwork like the other guys did, 2, 3 weeks, maybe a month out. It's not because I just don't like you.
Right. Yeah. Most of the animals are pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I got guys that turkey hunt here, and they couldn't believe the turkeys here. And then I was able to get him on some land, up by the river up here. It's got a ton of turkeys on it that belongs to our cousin. And he just couldn't believe that he could get access that easy. Well, you know what he did? He stopped and he asked. He was nice, and he had 2 tags to fill. And we're like, yeah, go for it. We don't hunt turkeys. I think this is what it'll be about his 3rd or 4th year coming back. So good for him.
Awesome.
I mean, we do let people hunt. The guy that put in my air conditioner last summer, that started out 3 years ago. He stopped to ask. Got to know him real good. And he was looking for does in 3F2 because, 3F2 is a special unit, a CWD. So, they've got more, the kill zone. And he was up by the public land, and I just was visiting with him and, got to know him and let him hunt. And he's been a real great guy. Now his son, he's got another relative that comes. About 4 of them come out, and they come out every year. And we were chatting last year, and I said, yeah, I'm going to have to put a new AC unit in. He goes, well, you know what I do for a living? Guess what? We struck one hell of a deal. He came out here, and I never looked back. He's always welcome here, and they're great. They're great people, and they're from the Valley City area. So we still let people hunt, but I do have a problem with game and fish. I really do.
That's a perfect example, though, just building relationships. And that's the cool part about the CWD journey, Clayton. I mean, it led us to you. It's led us to so many relationships, not even just in North Dakota, but all across the nation. And we are super grateful and blessed for that, too.
Well, I imagine you and I, when we finally meet in person, we're going to be friends probably for some time. We got a lot of the same ideologies. Like me and Jamie met through Scott Buckmeyer on a coyote hunt. And here we are, how many years later, we're buddies doing a show together. So, it is. It's all about the relationships. And game and fish sucks that out of it. They really do. They create divides between landowners and hunters and sportsmen's groups. And, the conquer and divide thing don't work. It never has, and it never will.
Yep, exactly. We wouldn't have to be in legislation now. They're putting us through this. All this could have been settled. But Jeb, like I said before, sits on these committees in other states, and they push these CWD narratives. So he's a huge problem for the CWD narrative and for the Game and Fish North Dakota. And it's just being exposed no matter what happens.
Well, and I'm going to throw this out to everybody. You need to start ringing Governor Armstrong's number. and let him know your feelings about that, because that's a great point. Jeb is the main vehicle that's driving this. He is, whether he wants to deny it or not, or give his so-called neutral testimony. It's not. Jeb's got a record of this. And trust me, if Kelly hears from you, he's going to take it into consideration. He always has. I've known him a long time, and he does actually take these things into consideration. I don't think we've ever had a governor that knows how to hunt and shoot like Kelly does. So the squeaky wheel always gets the attention. I guess maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world, but that's how it works. That's how this system works. And if you don't show up, they're going to do what they want. You need to let these people know, plain and simple.
That's right.
Call the Capitol. All right, I'm going to go to a couple comments here. Travis Jensen says, Representative Dick Anderson told numerous people no amendments were added, then made a joke how worked up his constituents were about him. And now here they are. He says sickening. Corey Merriman, now he's on the South Dakota side of the border down here. He says EHD is a way bigger problem than CWD. I agree. We've talked about that. I've seen that along here. And guess what? Them deer don't know what the North Dakota, South Dakota border is.
Right.
My land goes right up to the South Dakota border. And, Lynette, I like this. I'm so interested, but it's hard to understand because there's so much disinformation. And I think that's probably a good point, ain't it, Dusty? There are people that, unless they're really involved in it, they don't know who to believe, and they don't know what's true. And that's the point. North Dakota Game and Fish wants it that way.
Absolutely. And that's why they spend so much money in our funds on human dimensions, I call it, because human dimensions is in the document that they use to follow CWD, and all the other states do the same thing. And on page 87, it's human dimensions, where they got to tell us and push the fear on how scary this is. But there's been one deer in North Dakota, like out of 50,000 deer tested over 26 years. Like, it just takes some, there's a lot of information out there. But you just got to have a little bit of discernment and figure out, wait a minute here, 0.001% after 26 years. When do you give up on that?
Exactly. There's a time, I was listening to some of them files. I finally got them to open up. I don't have Apple products, so it took me a while. Okay. I did get one, but I couldn't get to load in the system right. I played it. If you ever get a chance, I imagine you've got a lot of that stuff on your Facebook page, don't you?
Yes, actually, all that's on the Facebook.
So you guys need to go and hit chronic wasting disease. I believe it's go hit that, and we'll put the link again on ours. I think it's still there, but go listen to those testimonies. And Dusty does a great job. You become an expert, because like me with guns and in the Second Amendment, I had to become that expert so I could testify on it, so I could take on these dingalings who don't know jack shit about it. Well, you've done the same thing along with the guys you got working with you. And we're just everyday people. They ain't like I'm a scientist. They ain't like I don't even have a college degree, because I went to college and they couldn't change me, and I left because I figured I could do it better anyway. And I'm telling you right now, get involved, talk to the people. When you see people who don't, I don't know about you, but I never got paid to be there for a lot of things. You don't get paid to be a lobbyist. You're there on your own accord. It's coming out of your own pocket. Those are the people you probably want to listen to, because their heart's in it. They know their stuff, and they got nothing to gain other than freedom for the people, plain and simple. And that's the kind of people you want to listen to, and that's the kind of people really that should eventually run for legislature, but that takes coin too. But
or director of the Game and Fish.
There you go. Dusty, you got my vote. Boom, that'd be great. I do believe, Travis Jensen makes a comment here. He says, it's a black eye on Kelly Armstrong. He appointed Jeb Williams. Kelly should know a lot about us and being patient and putting faith in him. He's an outdoorsman just like us. It is. Jeb is showing what Jeb is. And I can't, I haven't had a chance to visit with Kelly on this, but I would love to, get together and have coffee with him again. Maybe me and Jamie can make that happen, or even get him on here, because I think Kelly needs to hear it. And, maybe he does know. I look at it like this. I don't know every inner working of a politician in that position. What do they know? What don't they know? And what's their private thoughts on that? And politicians are never going to tell you everything. I've been in this arena a long time, but when we used to sit down there and talk with Governor Janklow at the time, we got to the heart of the problem with our reciprocity bill. And then we figured out that he's not with us, not in the capacity we were, but we knew what we had to do to get there. Same thing here. Maybe Kelly just needs to hear from everybody, and we need to know what he's thinking. Maybe Jeb's gone after this session, after his performance. It could happen. I think he needs to be replaced myself too.
Right. And the game of fish, I just want to say too, not hacking entirely on the game of fish, because the fisheries department, we hear a lot of great things about the upland department, but when it comes to the big game and the CW narrative it's off the charts. And I don't know why they're just dying on a hill over CWD when we've totally exposed that it's not, that it's such a scam.
It's about control. And I don't care what anybody says with game and fish on property rights as a whole. They may not agree with what their agency's doing, but they don't speak up against it. So to me, they're guilty anyway.
Exactly.
And they have never had much respect here since I've moved in. I've been here 27 years right on this place. And I can't see where they've ever had a respect for private property rights or landowners. And that's sad because you can't run a sound wildlife agency without that support. You just can't do it.
Right. Exactly.
And it's showing.
Yeah.
So, well, we're going to take another quick break. Better thank some sponsors. I've kind of been lax on it here. It's been a great discussion. And then we'll come back and we're going to talk a little bit more CWD. And I think maybe, let's see if we can't make that phone call thing work. Maybe we'll take a couple questions from our viewers.
Great.
We'll see if we can make it work. So stick with us here. We're going to go do our advertisements and we'll be right back.
Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota. Give them a call at 701-258-6308. The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake. Lauer Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308. 701-258-6308. Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Experience the exhilaration of power in your hands at Bloodline Kinetics. Why Cerakote? Simply, it aids in firearm preservation while also giving your piece a unique look. Barrel threading, NFA laser engraving, bolt handle threading, mount, level, and bore, sight scope chamber rebarreling, and much more. Bloodline Kinetics is meant to reflect a long American lineage in gun ownership, who stand for the Second Amendment rights, Bloodline, and the science behind gun accuracy. Kinetics. To some, it's just a constitutional right that can go away. To us, it's in our American bloodline, and we believe it should stay that way. Here at Bloodline Kinetics, we understand that hunters, sportsmen, women, and gun owners should have a quality firearm. Stop and see us at 2008 Morrison Avenue 2 in Bismarck, North Dakota, 58504, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 701-390-7997. Visit our website, bloodlinekinetics.com.
Ever tried catching a fish with your bare hands or hunting a deer with a stick? Don't be that guy. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we've got all the hunting and camping gear you need. We're your one-stop shop for outdoor adventure.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Check us out at mandansportinggoods.com, or better yet, stop in to 210 East Main Street, Mandan, North Dakota. Mandan Sporting Goods, where the outdoors meets functionality. Store hours, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Closed Sunday. Take up arms at Mandan Sporting Goods. Your adventure starts here.
Looking for the best gun gear for every and any situation? Little Angry Man Arms LLC has you covered. Top-notch guns from top-name brands like Winchester, Glock, Sig Sauer, and Ruger to essential extras from Magpul's, Streamlight, Hollow, Sun Optics, and more. Little Angry Man Arms LLC have everything to make your shooting adventures a success. Visit littleangrymanarms.com today and gear up for your next big hunt, competition, or home defense. Don't miss out on our exclusive deals. Little Angry Man Arms LLC, based in Trail City, South Dakota, your ultimate hunting partner.
At Horton Laser Craft, we believe in the power of personalization. Whether it's a cherished memory, a special occasion, or a unique gift, our custom laser engraving brings your vision to life. Our expert craftsmen and state-of-the-art technology ensure every piece is a work of art. From personalized decor to one-of-a-kind keepsakes, Horton Lasercraft makes every moment unforgettable. Horton Lasercraft is owned and operated by a local veteran and his wife located near Thunderhawk, South Dakota. They provide custom laser products at a reasonable price, and their turnaround time is fast and efficient.
Custom board cutting, glassware, decanter sets, mugs, assorted stainless steel jewelry, assorted tags, decor, custom acrylic nightlights, and much, much more.
Call them up at 605-545-7535. Horton Lasercraft, where memories are engraved.
All right, welcome back. The guest tonight, we have Dusty Backer here. He's been a little bit involved in the CWD thing and our hunting rights. So I'm going to throw this up here, Dusty. These are the amendments. I went and grabbed them off your website.
Perfect.
So this is what he was talking about. We got a 50-gallon feed limit per location, 50-foot setback now, a feed on property used for animal agriculture. So that's interesting. I like the wording of that. So fenced pastures, but I could see that being taken out of context very easily, couldn't you? That whole animal agriculture.
It's just more gray area.
Yes. North Dakota Game and Fish provide a report before December 31st of 2028 of surveillance and testing. And I like how you got, he says, how did it get hijacked? How did it get twisted with more restrictions? And I can tell you, I think we all know the answer to that. Certain legislators, Game and Fish, they have them in their pocket. And like Lynette talked about misinformation, and there's a ton of it. There is a propaganda thing. I've seen all these billboards. Really? I don't need a billboard. If you don't know about this by now, you've been living under a rock or what?
Right. It's been so talked about. Our deer die of EHD, like you talked about earlier, in winter a couple of years ago, killed 50,000. But we got to keep talking about CWD to combat all their propaganda.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it is. Propaganda. I hate it. This is what bothers me about government or governmental agencies. They do something, they take our money to do it, whether it's through fees, licenses, or just budgets that they get granted, and then use it to spit in our face and tell us that we're idiots. I mean, I tried to tell this to Jeb one time. I said, Jeb, when you get up there and tell me I don't understand, I said, you're essentially saying I'm an idiot and I don't understand anything. I can't read nothing. I'm illiterate. Well, then what I'm saying is, yeah, it is, because I'm pretty damn intelligent, really. And I'm telling you, when you say that to people, you think you're the authoritarian. I said, what makes you so great? I said, just because you might have a college education? I said, I don't mean dick to me.
Exactly.
And then he goes, so you have no respect for college education? I said, none. It's been there, done that. None. I said, I've been running cattle for over 27, 28 years here. I said, trust me, I know about animal disease, how to treat it, what works, what kills them, what doesn't kill them, what to feed them. And I said, I told him flat out, I said, minerals and supplements are a big part of our operation here.
Experts means experience, Clayton.
There you go.
Experience with livestock. Like our does are going to have, fawns here in another couple months. You know the nutrients that takes out of that doe to have a healthy nutrient. I mean, it's
tremendous.
It's criminal not to help feed wildlife in the wintertime, especially the hard winters. Yeah. And I'm not saying, again, like a bag of corn or a truckload of corn. You need to start early summer and feed them continually through all the spring. Oh, yeah. Basically 365, and you're going to have one healthy herd and keep them alive.
You put out really you can have and ask any of these guys, especially Texas. Texas probably has the most data because of their deer farming down there. And the amount of minerals and the mineral programs they got are just phenomenal. People could learn a lot. Granted, it's a different environment. It's different nutrients and minerals. But the basic concept doesn't change, that there are certain minerals needed at certain times of the year for a good, sound, healthy, productive animal. And we're no different. I don't know about you, but my wife, we've had 2 kids. We had certain things she had to do while she was carrying them 2 children of ours, so that her body wouldn't get depleted of certain minerals. Or if she didn't do it, she risked being unhealthy, maybe having bone mass loss, different, calcium deficient. There's so much that gets taken out of the body that you got to replace it or supplement. You just have to.
The body needs, Dr. Wallach proved this, the body needs 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 3 fatty acids. And for every nutrient, there's 10 different diseases. So you can have up to 900 diseases. And this is his book that's in the Smithsonian Institute. He proved this, how the mineral deficiencies, other than toxins, it's nutrient deficiencies is why people are getting sick and dying. It's toxin that it kills cells. If you don't have the nutrients, they're going to have a deficiency.
Well, yeah. And, I'm learning about that myself because I made a commitment to lose weight, and I've done pretty good. I went from like 238 to 217, 216, and I did that. Lowered cholesterol, lowered blood pressure, all with change in diet, eating different foods, especially different arrangements of foods, learning what those vitamins, and I'm no expert yet. I'm just dipping my toe into this, but I feel better. I imagine, first of all, you're drinking pop, get rid of it. Get rid of it. But I mean, it's no different for a human than it is for an animal. And I think I remember I think it was one of the testimonies that I finally got to work when I was, able. I think you mentioned that exact book, if I remember right. Am I correct that you were actually?
Yep, I actually have. Yep, we have the book, and it's the one that's in the Smithsonian Institute. You can find a few of them for maybe $1,500 used, and ours is a used book, but it was worth $25,000 brand new. But it's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, because Dr. Wallach proved there were 17,500 autopsies with electron microscope and millions of chemistries in this book, and not once is there a mention of a prion. Dr. Wallach's never ever seen one in this book. Every animal and every human being dying of natural causes is dying of nutrient deficiencies. And it's in the Smithsonian, it's a national treasure. And Dr. Wallach, he has sued the FDA 9 times, and he beat the FDA 9 times. He proved that SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, was a selenium deficiency in 2013. He took the FDA to court and sued him, and the FDA actually came back and kept suing Dr. Wallach. And after $1 million, they finally gave up and said, "All right, doc, what do you want?" Because they were the pharmaceutical medical industry was blaming that these babies were dying because the parents were.
They're blaming the parents for
blaming the parents, correct? When actually they were having heart attacks. Dr. Wallach did 1,700 autopsies in Keyshawn, China, on all these little kids, and they're all dying of heart attacks. Their parents weren't sleeping on the kids, and it was a selenium deficiency. And he's got some for fatty acids. That's why he could make the claim that fatty acids help heart disease. I mean, he can say that cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy were thought to be these terrible genetic birth defects of kids. Well, he sued the FDA again for those, and again they were nutrient deficiencies, because he could give monkeys the disease and he could reverse the disease, and he proved it in court because under the microscope, muscle's muscle. It doesn't matter if you're a human being or an animal. So the same thing with CWD. It's no different than like Alzheimer's, dementia, CJD. A neurodegenerative disease is a neurodegenerative disease. It's just the myelin degrading, whether it's in the brain or the spinal cord or the myelin that wraps your peripheral nerves could deteriorate too, and then you're going to have some kind of symptoms, because nothing is done by a test. All the diseases the neurodegenerative diseases are just symptoms.
Symptoms, yeah. And that's all they treat as symptoms, and you don't get better.
Right. Yep.
And they do that with a lot of diseases.
They're looking in the wrong place, right? Dr. Wallach, he's reversed over, 600, 900 different diseases. He's reversed these neurodegenerative diseases by the hundreds.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, Alzheimer's or dementia. I've had 2 family members have it. And I couldn't convince either of them because they're just ingrained that the modern medical world's correct and we're all wrong. But, I know for a fact that hyperbaric chambers have helped them patients. It's proven. It's been done. I mean, there's even been patients who are non-communicative, walk out of the ward of the unit, of the dementia unit, and they were actually communicating with the people. They were just because. I think part of it is, I call it big box medicine. I hate to see all these big hospitals buying up all these little hospitals, and let's just face it, they're not really there to treat us and help us. They're there to we're the cash cow, keep us just healthy enough to keep functioning, but keep coming back and sell drugs to you. Plain and simple.
Exactly. Well, even Dr. Wallach, believe it or not, he had all 50 states attorney generals come after him and sue him for making claims on Alzheimer's. Well, guess what? 48 states dropped it. I think it was Arizona and Michigan didn't drop it. Well, they ended up having to pay Dr. Wallach's attorney fees. And why don't you hear about Dr. Wallach? Because he's been blacklisted. He cured cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy and took it to Jerry Lewis, because Jerry Lewis ran the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, and they fired Jerry Lewis and
that's why he got fired.
Took a gag order on him and sent him on a cruise.
Wow.
I mean, it's so criminal. It's unbelievable. And they proved that in the 1970s they got rid of Alzheimer's in cattle through high doses of nutrients.
Imagine that, right? Imagine that.
Imagine that. And you were talking about the hyperbaric chamber. We have trillions of cells in our body. It doesn't matter if it's like a liver cell or a skin cell, or let's just say it's a myelin cell. The myelin, that makes the myelin sheath, the myelin cell. You have a cell either dies of three things. It's starvation, which is nutrients, suffocation, which is oxygen. So there's your hyperbaric chamber, or toxification. It's toxic. There's no prion in that, but those are the three things that kill any cell in our body. So nutrients, oxygen, or toxic.
And toxic is, like you said, a lot of times led to a deficiency in your intake of vitamins, minerals, but the essentials you need for life.
Right.
I mean, we learned
Chemicals.
that's simple, basic agriculture science, honestly. I mean, if you got a problem with your cattle, it's a lot of times it leads to a deficit, or water. Water is the essential ingredient of life, that and oxygen, right? If you don't have ample water, guess what your animal's lacking in their body? They're dehydrated. Their cells get dehydrated at molecular levels. That's tough. I mean, that one you got to watch out. You should never ever let them get that bad. You better be checking them more than that. But I know people have had problems, and it was a simple fact that the water was no good. It had things probably in it as well, and they weren't drinking, and they were dehydrated. Yeah, that's not a hard thing to solve. Get more water, get better water. Yeah.
Right. Well, we could go on and on and on. I mean, this is getting kind of deep, but Dr. Wallach,
it is. Yeah.
So many animals in the zoos. Like, he saved the bears. Every bear in the world was dying of liver cancer, like in its 20s. And he found out because they were feeding them peanuts. Well, peanuts carry that mold that's called aflatoxin. Yes. And they were dying of liver cancer. So he fixed the bears. He's fixed the dolphins. He did all these autopsies, and not just on the animals, but he did autopsies on 3,000 human beings within 5 miles of the zoos. That's in this book in the Smithsonian for comparison. And the humans were dying of just the same nutrient deficiencies as the animals were in the zoos. Like, he's proved this. That's why it's a national treasure. It's why you don't hear about Dr. Wallach, but the guy's just saved humanity and saved the animals.
Imagine RFK Jr. probably has that book.
If he doesn't, he needs it, because Dr. Wallach is RFK on steroids. Dr. Wallach's been there and done it.
So, all right. Well, I tell you what, I want to try something here. I've never done this, so you're going to be my guinea pig.
All right.
I got the number up there, so I don't know how it'll work. I imagine one person will get through, and then we'll have to. It's brand new to me. So if you want to call or try 605-524-5192 if you have a question for Dusty or myself. First time we've tried to take calls. I think I have it set up correct. I did a little test earlier today. So if you want to call, again, 605-524-5192, and we'll see how it works. Hopefully this will come in. It's supposed to ring into my system here.
All right.
We'll see if I learned something new. I thought I was done learning at 40, and boy, was I wrong. Here I am, almost 51, and I'm still learning things. So, all right. Well, some of the comments here, and I'm sorry, guys, I haven't been getting to them because we've been going over quite a few things here. Travis says, I wonder if Kelly Armstrong would do an outdoors town hall after the legislative session. No involvement from Game and Fish, just an old good town hall style gathering to hear what the average folk. I bet he would do that, Travis. In fact, me and Jamie will have to ask him about that. We'd be happy to host that. We can do it in Bismarck, do it in person, but we could also use our streaming platform and stream it everywhere. So if we wanted people to be able to communicate with us in that format, I think that's a good idea, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Kelly never, I'll put it this way, he never runs from opposition or question, not since I've known him. Now, some people might have other things, but from my own experience, I've never had an issue getting a hold of or talking to Kelly, even before I knew him well. So, all right, Trent Schatz, hope I'm pronouncing that right. Landowners that actually care about wildlife and feed them to get through harsh winters are being attacked with the amendment, especially the ones that have 300 plus herds up on their feed yards with many deer. 50 gallons wouldn't last 10 minutes. That's right. And then move into their feed yards and wreck more of their feed. Right now, they can place any amount at any location and keep them deer and elk out of their haystacks and feed yards. How can I fit a couple alfalfa bales in a 50-gallon container? So that's an interesting point on that amendment. Is that what that's going to do, Dusty? If they put that in there now, does that change what's already legal? So now they'll have to abide by this 50 gallons and 50 foot off a property line?
It would, because we don't have any of those regulations now. That's what this,
right.
They're just muddying the waters on this bill. But again, it's another gray area, right? So I can put 50 gallons here. So 5 yards over here, can I put another 50 gallons and another 50 gallons? Like, they can't regulate any of this. It's just so gray. And this bill, I can't say it enough to the viewers and listeners, Clayton. It is so simple. And all these amendments and CWD have nothing to do with the hunting restriction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like you said, how are they going to enforce it? I mean, I get to thinking about harvest when it comes up here this fall. I don't know about you, but nobody gets every morsel and every kernel, and there's probably more than 50 gallons on the ground sometimes if there's been an oopsie, because I've seen it happen. Generally, they don't clean it up. So you could have, 50 gallons or more of oats or corn or wheat, sunflowers. What are they going to do? Come around and then tell me that I was feeding deer out there because there's more than and then my question would be like, what are you doing in my field? There's a sign right there going in that gate, and I'm sure they're going to claim they're game and fish, so they're exempt. You know how that works too,
right? Well, that's how we know their personal agendas, because they have nothing to do with the bill,
right?
The game and fish can't regulate them and don't want them, and then yet game and fish somehow get more testing and stuff on here that they can already do, and then somebody wants that in law. Like, that is just awful.
Yeah, it is. All right, Corey says the phone ain't working. Okay, well, Corey, thanks for giving that a try. I guess maybe I didn't get it done right, so we might have to work on that. So I thought I'd try it. I put it out there, and I apologize, everybody, because I was really hoping that was going to work tonight.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get some phone calls, wouldn't it?
It would. And I know I'm not going to get it fixed tonight. It was a little bit setting that up to begin with. And I called from it. I was able to make a call, and I called it from my cell phone, but evidently something's not working, and I can't tell you why. So, yeah, who knows? It's one of them online things because I had to feed it through the restream, so that's why I did it that way. But alrighty, well, tell you what, we're at about 10 after. Yeah, we got more time here. So, in your opinion, how do you think this is going to go? I mean, I'm sure what we need to do is make sure, like you said, call your representatives in your district. If you don't know who they are, go to the North Dakota legislature website. They're all there, every single one of them. And I think if you go to our website, I still have the link on there that goes to the place where you can see the bills and just click on them. Really, you should be able to find any rep that way, to tell you the truth, because it'll give you the sponsors. You click on that, and then it'll ask you if you want to see other ones. I've been on that. It's not I don't know about you, but it's not the most user-friendly website. It really isn't.
And they can go to chronic wasting disease too. Our page.
There we go.
We have my wife's got a lot of the ND Legis Gov sites on there with all the House members. And if you all feel motivated and passionate about this, you can call all 94 representatives too, and voice and email every single one of them, because you don't have to do just your couple reps in the district.
No, do them all. Yeah, I guess
to do them all. Absolutely.
That'd
Tell
be fine.
them vote no on the amendments, and feel free to speak up on the floor against the amendments and vote yes on the bill. So
absolutely. So here it is. I put it up here so that maybe people can see it.
Perfect.
Got chronic wasting disease. I love how you guys did that.
You got it.
And it's easy to find. It's got the We the People profile pic, and yeah, they've got a lot of things on there. Hey, look at there. We're live on it right now on your Facebook page.
Oh, perfect. And just feel free to message us too. We can try to get back within a few hours.
Yeah, I really encourage everybody to get on there, check it out, and just absorb the information. Go to the links on there. And he's right. I mean, here's one right here. This goes to, ND legislature. What is this? ND Legis. The abbreviated
ndlegis.gov.
Yep. It's pretty easy to find, and you'll be able to find the reps. You really will. Yeah. If you got some time, sit down, and really, I think that's a great idea. Sit down and, give them a holler and tell them, listen, these amendments, If they did something, great, but they don't. They don't do anything except restrict private property rights and hunting. They are hunting and private property rights restriction. That's what they are, and nothing more.
That's right. And you made a good point earlier too. I'd like to hit on a little bit too, like not just a group, but several people from the page and stuff that have been in the Capitol. We've worked on this for 3 years, and it's not like we're doing this to go shoot a deer over a corn pile. I haven't taken one in 12 years. Like we've literally put years, months, days, hours into this. Several people have, and shown up at the Capitol, and we're not getting paid to do it. We're doing it literally just for the people of North Dakota and for our freedoms, Clayton, like you had mentioned, because this is what it takes.
It is, and that's what I said. Those are the people I want to talk to. Them are the people I want to hang with. I've been up there enough too that I know that when you fill up the room, a lot of times you get their attention. It's interesting. I've never been afraid to talk. I've held a lot of positions in a lot of organizations. I got no issue with people calling me or talking to me. I guess if you're worried about that, maybe they shouldn't be in that position, right?
Right.
So I'm just going to throw some pictures up here that you sent, and I grab right there. That's you. Now, I don't know who the other two guys are, but that one guy looks very familiar in the middle.
Yeah, that's Dwight Gross. Yep, he's an Elk farmer here in North Dakota, and then Jeremy Dinius.
Okay, then here they are. There's the orange herd.
There's the orange herd. Yep.
And you guys had her filled up there, which was great to see. I've been in that room, by the way. And here's another great picture there, right down there that's in the bottom. I don't think it is the bottom floor, I guess.
Bottom floor, yep, right through security, yep.
And then, of course, I put this. We're talking about propaganda, and there it is.
Right.
Yeah, and it is. I love the deer head collection site. I mean, is there a dumber way to collect scientific information? That one to me, I'm like, really? That's what you want to put out there to collect supposedly materials and samples for a scientific test or study.
Right.
Let's throw everything in one big container.
Cut through all the spinal cavity, and
it just don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But really digging your own out is probably even worse. Your own lymph node out, sending your home test sample kits.
Oh God, yeah. There you are. I don't know which time that you were speaking, but I grabbed that one. And I believe this guy right here, isn't that Gabe Thompson?
Yep.
That's what I thought that was.
Gabe and his boy Wyatt. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I did recognize a few people.
Yep. There's a bunch from the core group right there. Yep.
Who's the guy in the black shirt there? I've seen him up there.
The black shirt. That's Darryl Belisle. He's the government affairs, I believe, for the North Dakota Bowhunter Association. But
yes.
Darryl Belisle and Steve Growski, they're against this bill.
Yeah, I thought that.
Against it. Yep.
Now I know who he is. It's like I know that guy, and I know I'm not a buddy of his.
Yep.
Yeah, him and I have had words before.
Yeah, they're against property rights, and they're all in with the game and fish.
Oh yeah, him and I. I really know who he is, because when we were doing the property rights bill, he caught me out in the hallway and basically tried to tell me how stupid I was, and let's just say that didn't go well for him.
I suppose it's crazy you say that, Clayton, because when we first started up this Facebook page that my wife does an amazing job at, he called us through that Facebook page like in panic mode. Like,
really?
What are you doing? This is misinformation. I'm like, we're just putting facts out here, Darryl. Actually, it's the other way around. The game of fish is putting out all the misinformation. We can debunk theirs left and right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they do too. Anything you claim, that's their go-to argument. Well, that's misinformation. Says who? Prove me wrong. I love Charlie Kirk's stuff when he goes to these college campuses and sets up. Prove me wrong.
You're right. That's what they haven't been able to do with our page and our CWD, because they can't show us a prion. And when I asked them for contagious, I think we talked about this last week, they didn't even send me that. I had to go through the Board of Animal Health to get it. Well, this contagious study, they put a deer to sleep every week, Clayton, and injected saliva and stuff in its mouth under light anesthesia so the deer could kind of still swallow when it's waking up. They did that every day, I think, for like 3 months, and then it comes out positive 3 months later.
Oh my!
By this test, and they did.
And that's a scientific. Wow.
That's their scientific contagious. Like, that's how pathetic this is.
That's unbelievable.
That's all they have.
Doug Wolf says, an educated man. Now I really hate him. I know that's from Tombstone. Yeah, I mean, I went to the one, when this kind of started, I went up to Elgin and went to one of their public meetings and sat there and listened for a little bit. Of course, I didn't know much about it. So I started asking questions. When you start asking them questions that are logical and have merit, man, did they get aggressive. I don't know if they're still. I haven't been to. Honestly, I haven't been to a lot of them meetings since because I'm not going to put up with that crap.
Right. Well, they still dismiss you.
Yeah, I mean, I finally reminded that guy. I said, "Well, I said, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but I said, if I remember, I pay your goddamn freaking wage." I said, maybe you ought to listen to the people a little bit because we're your employer. I said, I'm sick and tired of you calling me a dumbass, essentially. When I said, I'm just asking simple questions, trying to get information. I said, you're the one that's getting aggressive and skirting the question. And they were.
And that's all they ever do. And you probably saw some videos I sent you, like Scott Peterson.
I did.
I was at a meeting and Scott Peterson says, I don't know, your information's wrong. I don't know where you're getting your information. When I was saying 120 detections, 1 confirmation, he's telling me I'm lying and misinforming the public. Well, I got the information from you. It's your guys' information.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think that was one I was actually able to. Give me a minute here. Maybe we can do something. I couldn't get it to load.
Okay.
I
kept telling me, I don't know where you get information, so I shouldn't interrupt it. I'm like, information is your information, Scott. Like, basically, he's trying to call me a liar to the public.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They call you a liar. They tell everybody you're an idiot. I mean, when they do stuff like that, you're telling me I'm stupid, ignorant, and I'm a liar, and I don't take to that very good.
Well, they truly believe that's what we are, Clayton. They truly
do. They really do. They really do. So we're gonna try it. Let's see if this will work. Did it come up here?
Yeah, one came up. Yeah, with Bill Haas in there.
Is that the guy?
That's a different one, but
that's a different one.
It's still a pretty good one.
Is it? Let's see if it'll play.
That's one where I confront him about being contagious. Why are we testing tongues, urine, and feces?
Okay.
They don't. It was playing, but we had no sound. It's playing, but no sound.
Oh, there's no sound?
Mm-mm.
Ah, darn it.
That's all right. But I was basically confronting Bill about you guys saying it's so contagious, but we got to send in lymph nodes that are areas of the body that detox everything. Why aren't we testing tongue, urine, and feces? That's supposed to spread these prions everywhere. I mean, it's just test.
And he didn't have an answer, did he?
No, I just got dismissed again because all they do is test, restrict, test. What's that doing for the people or the deer?
Yeah, exactly. Little Angry Man Arms, one of our sponsors here, he says, show me any government agency that spews any good information out. They work for us. We don't work for them. Exactly. And I think we're seeing at the federal level right now with DOJ and what's happening. And a lot of these ingrained bureaucrats have been there decades through how many administrations are kind of pissed off right now because they're getting fired. And I think we need to have a DOJ go through the North Dakota government. I really do. Start with game and fish.
Exactly. I think it's they forget who they work for, right? It's supposed to be the people and the government, but it's actually the other way around. Even legislation, it's the government and then the people. And
it really got bad after 2020 when they were allowed to shut down offices. I mean, I mentioned this to Kelly. It's a little better now at that particular office, but essentially the one that I forget the name of it. It keeps all the records, right? Vital records. They had their windows covered up with paper and their door locked. I needed to get information because I was down at the DMV and I was like, well, I'm in Bismarck. I should be able to go. No, couldn't get in there. And I ain't gonna lie. I used my connections and made a couple calls and they opened their door. But these people, that's their job. Why in the hell is their door locked and there's paper over their window so you can't even see in there?
Right.
That's unacceptable to me at the Capitol. You have a public office paid for public money on a public wage. You should be open all day, every day for whatever a person that you serve needs. Plain and simple.
Transparency, yep.
Transparency. And I will give the DMV down there, and a lot of people bitch about it. I can't complain. I kind of like the appointment thing because I set an appointment. And honestly, they've been pretty darn good for me anytime I needed to go in there. It was a big improvement as to what I used to see, so I was happy with that. But
sure. Now
the rest of them need to figure it out. Well, what's Jamie? So Jamie must be done. He must be done with his date already with his wife. So anyway, he says GAT701 should be a North Dakota state agency to promote and protect our Second Amendment civil rights. Hey, I'm all for that. I think we could make that work, Jamie. We could be the ambassadors for the Second Amendment and maybe even help out on this a little bit, huh?
I'll throw another one at you, Clayton. What are your thoughts on the Pittman Robertson? Because to me, it's like Go ahead.
Pittman Robertson. You know, it was a great idea when they made it, right? Let's go to the people and let's bring something to Congress, by the sportsmen, by the hunters, to create a tax for conservation. And everyone forgets about ranges. That's how I got so familiar with it, because there's a portion of that's supposed to be used to build public rifle ranges and trap ranges, and they always forgot about that part. And what it has become is a fun now for game and fish agencies to do stupid things like CWD or study a frog. They're using it for the wrong things in the name of conservation. That is not how this was proposed to begin with. Then you have the Dingle Amendment that came in there. There's been some reforms, but I think the Pittman Robinson concept needs to be severely looked at, and it needs a big overhaul. That's my opinion of it, because I don't think it's doing what it needs to do. I will say this. Game and Fish, because we forced their hand, started building the ranges in North Dakota while I was the NRA rep, because I forced their hand on it. And we started to basically tearing through their budget going, wait a second, you're bringing in all this money. You haven't spent nothing on ranges. You haven't even met the criteria and the threshold. That's why the one south of Mandan got built. That's why the one south of Bismarck got built. That's why the one up by Williston got built. All those public ranges got built because we forced their hand on it. But if someone wouldn't have asked, they'd just be shoveling that money into an account and doing what they want. So, yeah, I do have some issues. Good concept, but as with anything, it got bloated with bureaucracy and pet projects and the wrong people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you think.
Well, I brought it up. I mean, that's good look on it for sure. I just brought it up because they do use Pittman Robertson and our license dollars for CWD, and the Pittman Robertson thing, like you said, they're using it for the wrong thing. And good for you for getting on them, but that's what it takes, though, right? People need to get involved and start digging in and figure out where the money's going, not just with the agency, but all the.
Oh yeah, well, I'll tell you how retarded that the people are at the Game and Fish at that time. I've been retired for going on 10 years here. I went to them. We had $100,000 grant available in North and South Dakota for them to do range projects. That's a lot of money, especially 15 years ago. And all they had to do was team up, and all we were asking is that they, on the cost share deal, use their Pittman Robinson money, or we would meet Pittman Robinson money cost shares with our own money from the NRA Foundation, from the banquets that we did right here in North Dakota and South Dakota. You know what they told me? We're not interested in doing business with the NRA. Wow. So here's an agency that's supposed to be about hunting, shooting, wildlife. Pretty sure there's some firearms involved in that. And you've got a foundation that, yes, is a leg of the NRA, but we weren't the political part of it. And all we wanted to do was co-op with them to make some nice facilities for the hunting and shooting public to be able to use. And they told me they weren't interested in a $100,000 grant. Wow.
That's right. But yet the backcountry hunters and anglers and Wildlife Federation, they got no problem sitting at the table.
Oh, all the time. And at that time, DU had a freaking office right in the Game and Fish Park, which, by the way, they don't have no more. And someone you've been talking to might have something to do with that. Oh, I was pissed when I found that one out.
I bet.
They literally had their own office there that was paid for by Game and Fish in their damn budget. If you got into their budget line by line, you'd found it in there. It's like, what?
Wow.
You have the DU? I mean, wow. And that's when they were working on Measure 5, that big slush fund they wanted to create with really no oversight, and created out of the legacy fund. I don't know if you remember that, but it failed big time. They spent like $1.2 million, Ducks Unlimited did, on propaganda, and it failed miserably against a bunch of us rednecks.
Well, good for you guys, though, for still being awake and involved in.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, that is bad. Back on the CWD topic, too, I don't know if the listeners know this, but even the Game and Fish, when their CWD surveillance and monitoring plan from 23 to 27, they put a CWD task force together. So believe it or not, I requested to be on it a couple of years ago, and I was told absolutely not, because it's an in-department task force.
In-department task force?
I mean, you can't even make this stuff up anymore. It's like, wow. So what do you need to develop one for? You guys are in there. Why do you need a task force?
That's not a task force.
No.
That's just another board meeting, right?
Exactly. Right.
Oh my God, that's a new one. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
We got a task force, but it's going to be an internal task force
Internal
of our
task-
department.
Yep.
Oh, that ought to be great.
Yep.
So here's a good one here. It says, touch on if any of these amendments get attached and it goes to conference committee and how that works. And we, the people, pretty much have no say. Well, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's what happened today, right? They went to the committee and they were attached, right? Now it's going to the floor. Is that how I understand it?
Well, it was just in the House ENR committee. So
okay.
The Senate was in the House ENR. So now it goes to the floor probably next week because it's not on the order for tomorrow. And then if it gets through the House floor with the amendments, we started in the Senate Ag. So Lewick is the chairman on that committee, and he can either concur and just get it to the Senate for a vote, or he can develop a conference committee, which is 3 people from the Senate committee, 3 people from the House committee. And then once it gets in conference committee, the people really have no say. They can do whatever they want to that bill.
So how strong is the Senate? Who would be on that committee that you could speculate that they're going to fight? Porter's going to be on there.
Yeah, I'm sure Porter put himself on there, and probably Dick, and it's
so
who else. And then,
are they going to be able to hold the line with these guys? Because let's remember, this came out of Senate clean.
Right, other than the sunset, they put the 4-year sunset on
right.
it, but everything else was clean, right? But can the Senate? I don't think so. I don't think there's enough pull there to do anything. We definitely don't want conference committee.
Yeah, they're never good. I've had several gun bills die that way in both states when I was working on that stuff, and that's like the death of the bill.
It is the death of the bill, and that's why this bill is so clean, and that's why this weekend is so important for people to get the reps. We need to get these amendments off next week, because then automatically once these amendments are off, we get the yes vote in the House. It goes to Armstrong's desk. It's that simple. We can't fight the Senate again.
No, I agree with you. Here, I'm going to put this right here because I would think it's very important too. This is the easiest way to do it. All right, there it is, guys. ndlegis.gov Assembly 69. So if you go to the legislative website and you just go to the left-hand side and click on all members, and let's see, maybe I can share this screen for you guys. I can. There it is. Look at there. You go to that right there, and you can filter then every single member, everybody. Right there they are. And they're sorted out by districts. And you can click on them. Like there's District 20. There's Belts. You got Lem, Belts, and Haggard. Go ahead and select one. And there's their contact information right here. So it's not that hard to find them. It really isn't. It might be a little bit tedious, but doing the right thing is a lot of times is, and you got to take the time to do it. I can't think of a better thing over the weekend is to jack these guys up a little bit.
That's right. That's right. They're already getting tired of the phone calls and emails, but the House floor needs to hear it too now. So
they do. Hit the emails, flood their email boxes, because they may not read them all, but when they get flooded, they know there's a problem, and they'll look through some of them. And in your subject line, what I always do is I put the bill and then I put a dash whether I'm support or opposition, because it gives them that quick reference to look at it, and then they might read it. And if they see a lot of opposition in the subject line or a lot of support in the subject line, you can sway them that way, because they don't like to be the guy. You gotta remember, these people love power. Obviously, by the concurrent resolution they're trying to pass and change the term limit thing now, that's a whole nother subject. But these people love power. It's time to squeeze them a little bit. Take the old cojones, squeeze them, turn them a little, and put the pressure on them.
That's right. And I was in the Capitol. And I was in the Capitol yesterday too, talking to several reps, and a couple of them did mention that they are actually getting quite a few opposition, because the opposition knows they're in trouble with this bill.
Yep.
So they're coming out full force too. So we really just need to step it up this weekend.
And you're in support of a clean bill. And then that's what you do. You put it in there when you write it. Be cordial, be nice, and just say that you support this bill. You support Senate Bill 2137, as a clean bill unamended from the Senate, or just put the Senate version, because that's the one that
Right.
is supported by everybody that's on this thing, really, that's in support. So that's what you need to do. And I mean, do it this weekend, hammer them on it, email them, call them. If you know them and they come home for the weekend, a lot of these guys do, call them up and go have coffee with them. I mean, this is not New York. We got a lot of access to these guys, honestly.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a great idea.
And face-to-face stuff, trust me, as much lobbying as I did, and especially down in South Dakota, when you go and knock on their office door, especially when they're on the fence on a gun bill after you've given them $200,000 over the last 10 years from NRA, they listen. I won't tell you what some of those conversations were, but if I showed up, it wasn't because it's because all other efforts failed, and you need to be reminded. So,
Right. Well, there's nothing better than face-to-face or really a phone call. So, but if you get an email too or text, please do that too.
yeah, absolutely. Text, email,
Yep.
contact them every single way you can. They need to hear from you. They just do. And it probably isn't going to hurt when I go to vote on this, if you can attend the floor session and sit up there in the galley, or if you know your rep good enough, they'll invite you as a visitor. You can sit right there. You got to be quiet, but it is good to go there. That galley, when it's full, very intimidating if you got one side or the other in there.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's even better when you start standing around the bottom because there's no more room. And then that's when they start getting itchy and go, oh, we're past the fire code, and start getting, ejecting people. Yeah, I've been up there a few times. So but
You know how it works.
I know how it works, yes. And I thought the Senate bill, even with that in there, it's why when we first talked, it's like, are you okay with that expiration? And you know what? I guess if that's the one thing you have to give and take, that'd be the one thing you can live with. Because if like I said, one way or other, it proves either you're right or wrong. And if either way, you win.
Right. And we know we're going to be right on this just because we've done the research.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's why I'm looking at Minnesota with their archery tags. They're allowing crossbows to be used in their archery season now. And I want to wait a couple of years here and get the data on it fully and see what was the effect of that, because I've heard every analogy, but there was never any data on it. Now there's going to be data.
Absolutely.
And to me, the more guys we can put out there hunting, the better. But that ain't how some see it. So.
Right. Well, if you like big trophy bucks, it's probably not the thing. But then again, it's back to ethics. Whose job is it to say this is supposed to be a trophy buck area? I just want to hunt meat for my family to put in the freezer. So we should have that right too.
And I personally like shooting a crossbow. I don't particularly care to do a bow. And I can tell you my gratis tag, I use that with my rifle because I get one. That's what everybody, I don't get to even apply for leftovers. I get one gratis tag. That's it. And I have to specify the actual acres. It isn't a non-checked out or non-limitation tag. It's pretty specific. It's specific to me on certain acres that I put down. I get one.
Right. Yep. It's no free for all.
Which I'm fine with. My boys now, they're old enough to each get one. So 3 tags is plenty. We didn't even fill them all last year because I didn't feel the herd had the numbers. So Jamie came down with his daughter, and she got one in the youth season, which was absolutely great. A fun hunt. But I think we only took 6 deer off this entire place last year. So numbers were down.
Well, that's management right there. That's true being steward of the land.
It is.
The majority of the private property owners do in North Dakota.
Right, they do. I mean, I like this. I love my cattle operation, but I love to hunt. So I do a lot of things here so that I have things to kill, I guess is the way I put it.
You bet. That's right.
And you don't have that without a good balance. You just don't. That's why this CWD thing drives me insane. I guarantee you, the one that I thought wasn't. And now the mule deer moving in because of the absence of whitetails, because we're right on that cusp of either or. There's no CWD here. I guarantee it.
Right. Again, the animals are probably dying of nutrient deficiencies, especially the bucks. They're stressed out because, you hear about how the older bucks in Saskatchewan, yada, yada. But the longer they live, the more stressed out they are. Yeah, they have some nutrient deficiencies. So if they're spinning circles, it could have a cobalt or copper or zinc deficiency.
Well, and I kind of know what my grasses are because my cattle, right? I know what's in them towards the end, end of summers. And so I actually have those kind of blocks out there. And I guarantee you that that the deer are going to them probably as much as the cattle.
Sure.
And I don't know if CWD is transmittable to cattle, but if it is, mine have never had it.
I bet if you start testing, we start testing cattle
Probably
across North Dakota, we're going to find some detections there too.
Because
depopulating cattle ranches, this madness will be over real fast.
got to quarantine them, and yeah, then we will have a war.
Exactly right. It just
I might just be able to take it.
I think you're okay. We're gonna be coming to your place.
Yeah, I think some of the what do I say the people that would be in charge of trying to do that, I think they're scared of me, honestly, where I live. I live in the middle of the reservation, Dusty, in pretty much nowhere. So yeah.
Okay.
I kind of
sounds pretty awesome.
I don't I don't make any bones about where I stand on things and what I'll do if I'm trampled on.
You bet.
I always tell people if I bought hogs, it got real serious.
Not hogs.
Yeah, they're the universal disposal units.
You bet.
It means things got real bad down here. So
right.
Oh, Jamie, he puts on the crossbows. That's some cheating BS right there.
Let's not bring ethics into this. Come on now.
Oh my goodness. I'm not even going to go down that one. That could be we have done whole shows with that already. So
sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take one quick break here, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of wrap this up. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
I think we've hit it pretty good, but I don't think we can hit it enough to say call your reps. In fact,
right.
When we go to break, look one up, send them an email right now. That'd be the thing to do. If you're listening already, you might as well do it during the break, right?
That's right.
All right, we'll be right back.
Let me see your war face. Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. Ah! You don't scare me.
Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake. Lauer Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308. 701-258-6308. Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Experience the exhilaration of power in your hands at Bloodline Kinetics. Why Cerakote? Simply, it aids in firearm preservation while also giving your piece a unique look. Barrel threading, NFA laser engraving, bolt handle threading, mount, level, and bore, sight scope chamber rebarreling, and much more. Bloodline Kinetics is meant to reflect a long American lineage in gun ownership, who stand for the Second Amendment rights, Bloodline, and the science behind gun accuracy. Kinetics. To some, it's just a constitutional right that can go away. To us, it's in our American bloodline, and we believe it should stay that way. Here at Bloodline Kinetics, we understand that hunters, sportsmen, women, and gun owners should have a quality firearm. Stop and see us at 2008 Morrison Avenue 2 in Bismarck, North Dakota, 58504, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 701-390-7997. Visit our website.
All right, and we are back once again in our little final segment here. So again, get out there and call your reps, email your reps, check them out. Again, here is the link. It's pretty easy to do this, and I really highly encourage it because that's where this is going to make a difference. Do it now. Monday's too late. I think Monday will be too late.
Yeah, reach out with the page too, through the page messenger. We comment on there if you need any assistance or help, and we just can't thank everybody for the support, on this issue. to give the rights back to the people of North Dakota.
And that's what this is. That's what I look at it exactly like that. This is a private property rights issue. Hands down. And then if we don't do it, look what's been happening with pipelines here. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But you know what? I have nothing wrong with a pipeline. There's how many of them that go across the state and everywhere. It's the way they were doing it, trampling on the property rights, trying to use an eminent domain thing. Well, I kind of look at it like this. They're trying to, without using eminent domain even, they're just saying, nope, you don't have the right to do it on your own land. And it's a very stark, to me, infringement of private property rights.
It's just a violation, correct?
Big time.
So I mean, it's just it's the nudge effect. I mean, they've wanted a ban, on feeding all along, but they don't have authority over feeding, so they went after method of take, and that's why it's a hunting restriction. And look at how many years later, since 2009, 2010, they got over half the state. I mean, it's going to be 3/4 of the state this year. Yeah. And they say a baiting ban, but again, it's not a baiting ban. That's human dimensions at work. They call it baiting because it just has a bad name, but right. It's a hunting restriction. But they're getting what they want with the nudge effect. So this is the bill to help out the people of North Dakota to get rid of that nudge effect.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. Always remember, everybody, the people that come out and want control and they want to put their thumb on you, they've thought about this. They've been to the arena many times. They've been in the fight many times. And they're going to use every tactic, whether it's words, whether it's terminology. I always said terminology is everything. Look at what happened in our own country with illegals. Went from an illegal alien to an illegal immigrant to an illegal migrant, then just to a non-disclosed migrant. They kept changing the terminology until pretty soon they're just migrants, even though they're here illegally. Same thing here. They use the terminology and change the narrative all the time. That's what the opposition will always do to you. They will always change the narrative and the terminology and soften it as they go, making it even sound like it's the positive thing to do. And you got to get on the bandwagon and don't be left out. You don't want to be that guy, do you? Yeah. It's kind of a psyops, really.
You said it well.
I mean, it's really
make it sound sweet and push the fear, and people do.
Absolutely. I put up there's their profile. We're gonna have to look and see if we can get you. I don't know if you got enough members. You should have to create your own Facebook deal. We used to have that when we had our old page where it was just GAT701 on our profile, but there it is. And here it is. I've been sharing it. If you look up there, guys, it's chronic wasting disease. I still love that. Right here. There it is. Trent put it up there. There it is.
Perfect. Thanks, Trent.
Go ahead and put that on. I take it Trent knows you.
Yes.
Okay. And go check it out. Like it, follow it, share it with everybody, invite your friends. I mean, there's still time. You need to do this. I think it's a very important issue to me. And I wish I'd have got involved a long time ago. If this bill fails, you call me and Jamie. We're gonna get behind this and we'll help push it through this.
We appreciate you guys a bunch too for the support, Clayton. You and Jamie.
Well,
and great.
It's too bad we didn't get to know each other sooner. We could have done a lot more for you on this. And I was preoccupied with 1588 and a few other gun bills this year, and then that's about all I had time. Which, by the way, 1588, everybody, I've got to mention this. So they let's see, they got them scheduled here. Hearing on they had one on the 1st of April. They did do some changing in it. I'm waiting to hear from Koppelman and a couple others to see if this is okay. I still am not great with it, but they struck out a lot of the BS that was put into this bill. So I'm happy about that. And of course, that was Porter as well. They did some of that. So they did strip that out of there. It's a better bill. I don't know if it's a great bill, but it's it's 6 pages. It's actually not too hard to read it. They took out a lot of the dumb things. They did add one in there, and I have no reason why all of a sudden we're going to a dangerous weapons now going to include pretty much every knife rather than 5 inches now if it's 6 inches or longer. I don't know why there should be anything considered a dangerous weapon as a knife, but whatever. That was one thing I've seen. But most of the bad things have been stripped out of it. But remember, whether it's property rights like the CWD thing, gun rights, you name it. If they chip away a little saying, well, it's just this, pretty soon, 10 years down the road, it was lots of thises. and then you don't know what happened to your rights, and then you're sitting there going, "What happened?" Well, you should have got involved. Plain and simple.
Bingo.
So, with that, I guess I'm going to call it an evening. I got to get up very early tomorrow and head to Rapid City. Jamie's going to be filling in for me at KFYR 550. Mitchell in the morning. Todd and Jamie are taking to the airwaves. I don't even know. Jamie's got a pretty good show, I think, planned for you. I'm sure he'll have a great, happy ending chronicle because we do celebrate self-defense uses here on the show of your Second Amendment. So tune in for that. 7:15 Mountain, 8:15 in the Central Time Zone. Mitchell in the morning, Friday tomorrow. And then I don't know. I was going to try to stream that. I don't know if I'm going to get it done before I'll try to set it up tonight and see if it'll do it. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that work because I got to share an iHeart thing and it's kind of tough to do. And then, of course, next week, Thursday, and then April 16th, we return back to our Wednesday night schedule like we always have. But with that, Dusty, you got any closing remarks before we leave?
No, just really appreciate you guys. Clayton, Jamie, thank you so much. Hope Jamie had a good anniversary, and just really thank our group that's been working so hard for this for a couple of years, and my wife running that Facebook page, and just all the supporters out there. We can't thank you enough.
Hit their page, guys. Chronic wasting disease. Dis-ease. That's the way to pronounce it. Dis-ease. Hit it on Facebook. Again, like it, share it, invite your friends. Get on the phone. Don't just even get on to your reps. Get out to your friends and have them call your reps. Call them, email them, text them if you got their number, because that's what makes them move their position. Plain and simple. So,
bingo.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in tonight. We hung in there real good, had some great numbers. And Dusty, I thank you for coming on. We're proud to support this cause. And I wish I had more time to go to the Capitol and work with you this year. But I hope this is going to pass. We're going to get it through. But if it don't, I'm definitely on board with you next time because I'm going to sit it out this time. So.
Appreciate you.
All right, everybody. Keep your powder dry, and we will catch everybody next week. Thanks.